So, very good afternoon to everybody. We've been dealing with unit number 4, ethics in engineering. So, today we're going to talk about ethical professionals and ethical corporations. How do we work into, or how does ethics work into professions and as well as different corporations and organizations? So, the topic is titled as Responsible Professionals and Ethical Corporations. Now, what we need to know about being ethical is you always know that you can take the horse to the well, but you cannot force it to drink, right? So that's why the very first word that they have given us over here is ethical, responsible professionals. Okay, I can teach ethics, I can have some rules, but I cannot force anybody to follow it. I can force you to follow it in a sense that I set up a rule, or I have to add some uh, sort of a punishment or some sort of you know uh, I have to devise a way so that somebody or everybody follows the rules that are been given to us. Now that can happen to a certain extent, right? Let's say many of us are now following the traffic rules because of the amount of money you have to pay when you break the rules, right? Because the amount which is levied from you, we do follow it, but we would always find a loophole. Okay, it's not only us. Remember, it's not only us. Most of the people behave in that manner only. Why am I quoting this example here every now and then? The reason is, to be ethical, you have to take up the responsibility on your own. It should come from within. Yes, you can force people to follow rules, you can force people to be ethical, but it cannot be forced all the time. People may find out loopholes to escape from it. That's why first thing that we need to know is we need to uh, behave in a very responsible manner when we are professionals, right? And then we can go on and create ethical corporations. So that's what the entire topic is all about. So it is actually a set of standards that are used for making decisions in a workplace. How do I make things happen in some sort of a form where I can see that ethics has been followed? Not 100%, but you to 90%, let's say. So what do we do is we keep a set of standards. This is the way of working of a particular company. You might have heard about the way a company works, or a way a company has devised its employees to work, right? Something like that. So basically, the set of rules that you set for a particular group of people is what helps you to move in an ethical manner. Moreover, why do we need ethics? Why do we need ethics to be there? We need it to be there so that professionals do not take advantage of others and vice versa. Which means you don't take advantage of somebody and somebody else does not take your advantage. Moreover, when there are fixed rules, it helps to build trust and respect, and eventually it will lead to more opportunities. Right? When you build trust, when you have respect for somebody, I'll give you a very simple example from day to day life where you can see that you look up to some person. Let's say in the family you might have somebody to whom you will look up to in the sense he cannot be wrong or she cannot be wrong. Okay, they take quite good decisions, or they are the people who have done a lot in the family, or they are the ones who have always taken care about not only their own well-being but also of the well-being of the other members in the family. So there would be people in everybody's family, not only one but everyone's family. You'll find such people who you feel to be your role models, or whom you feel they are the right kind of people to seek advice from, right? We don't seek advice from each and every person. We seek advice from people where we feel that it's comfortable, and you not only comfortable, but you also know and understand that this person is never going to give me a wrong advice. Even if the advice feels to be bitter, this person over here is going to give me the correct advice. They treat me as if they're treating their own children. You seek advice from only such people. You don't seek advice from each and every being, right? So why do we treat them like that? Because they have a set of rules that they follow in their own life as well. I'm taking one personal example, or example from the personal life, so that we can relate to what we have to do in the professional life as well. So these people, they lead their lives in such a manner, or they are people who have creative examples. They don't teach you and preach you the examples. Okay, what they do is they follow the same set of rules when it comes to their life as well. Right? When it comes to their life as well, they'll follow the same set of advice or the same set of rules that they have told you to follow. Now you look up to such people. Why? Because they don't just talk about it, they also do it. Right? Similarly, when a company follows a set of rules, other companies will surely follow them. This company will lead and the others will follow. Let's say, let me give you an example from our workplace. Teachers ask you, you have to be punctual, you have to be there in the class. We need 75% of attendance. What if the teacher is missing 5 times in the week? Will you be able to lead? What we will say, they're asking us to be punctual. Are they coming on time? Are they coming regularly to school? Are they taking the class on you look up to people. Okay, why I'm giving such basic examples, the reason is this is what we actually do in our life. We don't just read something and follow it. We look up to people who practice it. That is why it is very necessary for any organization to not just talk about ethics but to practice it as well. Once you start practicing ethics, you will create an atmosphere of trust, an atmosphere of respect. Let's say you have a teacher who has been very punctual. I'll give an example from the teaching world because that's where we are more exposed to, both of us, you and me. Say you have a teacher who's very punctual, never misses school or college, always on time. You would be late, but the teacher never is late, right? And someday the teacher is not there. What is the first thing that comes to our mind? Must be a very big trouble, okay? He or she never comes late. Must be in big trouble. Or then you come to know about some issue that has been happening with her for a period of time, and still the person, see, such a brave person, had put aside personal things and worked in the professional world. That's how you build trust. That's how you build respect. And once you have trust and respect in the market, you will generate goodwill. And once you generate goodwill, your company will have more opportunities, more tie-ups. Okay. So all the people in a particular group can use the same set of professional ethics, or uh, they would be, for each profession, there would be a set of ethics that are being set by some organization, right? Certain professional ethics that you follow, they must relate to our values. Even though they are unique, they must somehow relate to our values. Let's take one example over here. The National Society of Professional Engineers has put forth an ethical code for engineers that engineers, in the fulfillment of their professional duties, shall hold paramount the safety, health, and welfare of the public. To hold paramount means it is the absolute duty to look into the safety of the public. Right? This is one ethical code of conduct which the engineers have to follow, or they do follow. Similarly, you might have seen examples from other professions as well, like doctors, where they do not leave the patient, they attend to the patient. There are certain set rules. What is the unique value? Remember, here at the end, we said the value may be unique. They can use the same set. Here, we're talking about the unique, valuable asset of human life. Life being sustained, life being made better. That's why safety, health, and welfare, all the three things. Though engineers are not directly related to health, indirectly they are. The type of materials that you use to build something, the type of things that you use, are they healthy enough? Even if you are a computer engineer, does it affect the person's health? And we don't only mean a person's physical health, we also have to look into the person's mental health. Is it disturbing? Is it soothing? All right. I suppose this example gives sufficient insight into what it is all about. Please mark this as a very, very important question. The fundamental canons of the code of conduct for engineers here, because remember, always remember, we have been talking about ethics in engineering. So, which are the codes of conduct that have been set for engineers? So, these are some of the codes of conduct that the engineering branch has to follow, be it any kind of engineering. It's a generalized uh, code of conduct which you have to follow for engineering students, and who have been, or engineering professionals to be more precise, so who have set this code of conduct. Remember this name and the full form, the acronym and the full form: ABET, that is Accreditation Board for Engineering and Technology. This is the organization who has devised this fundamental canons, or this fundamental code of conduct for engineering professionals. I'll give you a few minutes of time to note down the information. We'll not move ahead before, because it's a very, very important question. You need to know the acronym, uh, as well as you also need to know the full form. And this six codes of conduct, you may not phrase it, you may rearrange it chronologically, we don't mind, but the first one is the most important one, so it is arranged in a order. It's okay if you change the chronology, but it's not okay if you change the wordings, right? So I'll give you a few minutes to read this. Let's say 2 3 minutes to read the six. Right now, as of now, we've got six codes of conduct with us, which the IBAT, that is the Accreditation Board for Engineering and Technology, has set for us. Right? I'll give you 2 3 minutes of time. You can go through the six, and then I'll explain each one. Don't worry. Please note down, this is an important question, important acronym, and important full form. We're working two ways, the written way and the MCQ way. So kindly note down this as an important question from both the sides, the MCQ side as well as the long question side. Okay, I'm giving you 2 3 minutes. Kindly go through the information. If possible, I'll be also uploading the PPT. Don't worry about that part, but make a note somewhere that this is an important question. Fine. I hope you have made note of the important question and you have noted this as well.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, can I leave our session? I am at our
What?
campus and there is jammer over here, so I can't able to attend our lecture further.
May I know your roll number so I can mark your presence?
Yeah, my roll number is 100.
100 Gaurav. Okay.
Yes.
No problem. You may leave the session. Kindly cope up with the quiz and other things from your friends. Get the link from the friends.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
thanks.
Anybody else is facing such a problem? No. Okay. Then we'll move ahead. Right. So the first one I explained, to hold paramount the safety, health, and welfare of the public. Now, second, perform services only in areas of their competence. So remember, a computer engineer, though you have subjects of civil engineering, mechanical engineering, other engineering, the basics you have learned and you have gone through in your first year of colleging, or you may have been continuing to certain years, kindly perform the service in your area of expertise only. We know that you know the basics. We're very happy about it, but you cannot deal with an area which does not come under your expertise. Next, let's say I am a doctor, but I'm a doctor in a branch of language. I cannot perform a surgery. Is as simple as that if you take the example, right? Next, issue public statements only in an objective and truthful manner. If you are supposed to give a statement, be objective. What do I mean by being objective? Being objective means you don't look at what is your favor, what is favorable to you, what is unfavorable to you. You look at how things happen from a third party angle, and kindly try to reflect truthful things, facts and figures. Next, act for each employee or client as faithfully as agents or trustees. Right? You work in such a way as if you are working for yourself. As I said, we can have the rules, but it can only be followed if you do it. Okay? Or when I say you, the person does it. Avoid deceptive acts. Here, it's not said that you don't do deceptive acts, you avoid it to the maximum extent. At certain times, you need to do it as a part of the duty, it might happen. Conduct themselves. Here, when we say themselves, we mean engineers, professional engineers. Conduct themselves honorably, responsibly, ethically, and lawfully so as to enhance the honor, reputation, and usefulness of the profession. Remember, this profession that you are following has given you your livelihood, has earned you your name in the society. So you are supposed to return the name and fame to your profession by following the codes of conduct that have been given to you, so that your profession is not put into a shameful situation. Okay, so these are the fundamental canons of the code of conduct by APAT, Accreditation Board for Engineering and Technology. A very important question from the exam point of view, be it MCQ or be it the long questions. Now, there are certain universal ethical principles that everybody follows. There are certain universal ethical principles that all of us try to follow, and our culture has also asked us to follow. So let's uh, see a few. That is honesty. Your parents might have taught you from very young age that be honest, don't tell lies, tell the truth. The one who tells the truth, is the one who conquers the world. Things like that our parents have been telling us. So honesty is a universal principle. When I say it's a universal principle, it means that across the board. Now, if I have to please mark this as important from the MCQ point of view. If I have to ask a question, I can always ask an MCQ by saying that universe, let's say, uh, adherence to law is a universal principle. What do I mean by saying that these are universal principles? This means that across the board means, be it any profession, these are the principles that you have to follow or you follow. Right? First is honesty. Second, trustworthiness. Will you go to a doctor whom you don't trust? No. Why? You're afraid, right? Everyone is afraid. What if he does something? What if, I am unconscious, he removes one of my kidneys? What do I do? You put your trust. The person has earned that trust. Okay. Next, adherence to law. That means you follow the rules and regulations that are given to you by specific professional bodies. Then, doing good. Kindly see to it, as I said, you need to help the human society to become better. So do good, avoid harm. Ahimsa paramo dharma, right? You don't be violent, you don't do harms, you follow non-violence. In the case that, let's say, if you are a civil engineer, you're building a building, you're constructing a building, you need to see to it that people don't die. Okay. Don't die in the sense some worker does not die by for following the safety measures, basically, right? The foundation of the building should be strong enough so that it can sustain to a few natural calamities. Avoiding harm. Accountability. People rely on you. Accountability and reliability. You are accountable, you are reliable. Okay. Sometimes, I'll take again an example from your household. Here you can see that your family members, when they buy certain products, like, let's say, when they buy gold and silver, they'll always tell you, you can close your eyes and trust this people, I've been buying since generations. That's being accountable, right? Even if the customer does not check, you have the duty of seeing to it that the product that you are delivering is the appropriate product and is of appropriate quality. Next, respect for others. Respect, or, being respectful is one thing, and gaining respect for for yourself is another thing, right? So what happens is, the give and take, it is actually a barter system. You have to earn your respect, right? People don't respect you just like that. You have to earn it. How do you earn it? You earn it by showing a similar kind of behavior. When you respect others, other person will also respect you. And last is being loyal. Being loyal to your profession. Okay. Being loyal to the company. You cannot go and talk about your company secrets to the other organization. Even if you shift from one company to the other, you never disclose the secrets. That's called loyalty. Okay. You don't move away. Once you leave an organization, your loyalty does not leave with it. It has to be carried forward. So these are a few universal ethical principles that most of the professions would follow. So we have a question over here. As I said, this unit is a little unique. Will not have true or false things like that. We have questions which you have to ponder, you have to think. So can you think and tell me, why do you think it is necessary to have ethical principles? What if we are dishonest? There are many people who are dishonest, right? So why do you think it is important to have such ethical codes of conduct? You may type your answers in the chat box. Well said, everyone. Ethics are necessary because basically they are the guidelines, the trails that we can follow to achieve our success one step at a time, right? So let's move forward. Ethical corporations. How can organizations become ethical? Uh, Usually, an organization, when it is running, or when you open up a workplace or an organization, it is actually in close connection with the society, right? It's between the buyer and the seller, right? Let's say I want to build or construct houses. What if nobody buys it? It's a fine balance between the workplace and the society in which we reside, right? So it's actually the moral and the social responsibility that you carry after getting educated and having experience and expertise in a particular field. It is your moral duty to return it back to the society, right? It's a full circle of life. What you gain, you have to return back in one way or the other. Why am I saying returning back? Let's say I study something and then I don't do anything about it. It's like it will be covered in dust. All that knowledge, all that education that comes to me dusts away, or it has dust gathered on its shelves, right? Now, by returning it back to the society, you don't only do good to the society, but you are also doing good to yourself. You are practicing what you read in pages, right? Moreover, whatever we have gained as a knowledge is a part of the society. Society has decided that we should be educated. Society has trained other individuals to get you educated, trained people to show you how things work in a particular field, right? Moreover, apart from that, maintaining law and order. Remember, we are not the uncivilized Stone Age people, we are the civilized people. That's why it's called a civilization and not an uncivilization, right? Civilization. So, maintaining the decorum, maintaining the law and order, maintaining the rules. Moreover, resources which are available, how to benefit from the resources to the maximum is what is required over here. Whatever we have gained in terms of knowledge, time, wisdom, art, skill is something which is gifted to us from the society. And when time comes, we are supposed to return it back as a part of our duty. So, what is the importance of ethical corporations? Why are corporations, the need of corporations to be ethical, a requirement in the society? Can mark this as an important question over here, a short note. So, first thing, if you are ethical, we have been discussing, but we'll just go through the points quickly. It would generate goodwill. Also, it helps in the survival of business. You have to survive your business. You cannot just open it up for 2 days or few days, right? It shields employees and shareholders. As I said, if there are certain set rules, okay, you cannot. In the next point, it is say you cannot have malpractices, not even for the employees and not even for the shareholders or the stakeholders. Let's say there's a set of rules which decides the salary. Let me give you a very simple example. We are all much into the salary part, right? So there's a set of rules which decides the salary of a particular post. Okay, there's a range. Don't tell me that, madam, things are not fixed, but there's a range. Okay, let's say every company has its own range. When I say range, it means, like, say, people who are fresh graduates, let's say somewhere around 15,000 to 30,000. They can be more, but every company, if you see, they'll have a range. I hope I am making things clear. By saying a range means they'll have a range of, or a set, level 1, level 2, level 3, right? According to maybe the education, sometimes education plus experience, sometimes the kind of work that you do, right? So, who decides that? That is also a part of the ethical sustenance part of any organization. Why? If such kind of rules are not set, or such kind of salaries are not fixed, or ranges of the salaries are not fixed, what will happen is somebody might might, or some organization might take benefit of the same, right? And what happens in such cases is, even if you work really hard, you are unable to move forward because they may make or do malpractices. They may extract a lot of work from you, may not pay back the same prices. Then customers reliance and satisfaction, the customer should be satisfied with the services that you provide. How can it be possible? Because there's always a time frame. Let's say this computer and mobile manufacturing companies, right? What do? They don't launch a new mobile every 2 years or 3 years. They don't launch new technologies every 2 years or 3 years. They update, they upgrade as and when possible. Let's say 6 months time, 3 months time. But to make the living of their customers more comfortable, they constantly work towards improvisation, right? Then smooth functioning, and it also generates a scope of employment. New employment skills can work. So can you identify and tell me the name of a few corporations that you believe follows ethical principles? Name of companies, workplace situations who follow ethics and principles. You may type your answers in the chat box. Cannot find a single company or corporation that follows ethics. Let's say not 100%, but to a good extent. Some companies or some organizations that you can name. Excellent. At least got a few names and a question mark as well. Right. So we've got companies like Google, Infosys, Tata, Apple, Amazon, etc. Right. So I am not saying 100% ethics is followed, but there is some code of conduct that is followed, and these are a few examples that you have cited. Thank you. for citing the examples. So this was it. With this, we come to an end. You need to remember the code of conduct, which is given by the ABAT organization for engineers. Please remember, we are focusing on ethics in engineering, and that is why such examples have been taken. Right. So, do we have any queries regarding this? I hope you are also following the web link that has been provided in the syllabus, especially for this unit. I had also uh, given you the same. Okay, those there are no doubts. Kindly look into the web link because you'll find quite good case studies over there. So now, if we don't have any queries, we'll have our quiz. Just give me a moment. I'll share the quiz link. There you go. You have the quiz link for today. You may start attempting your quiz now. Excellent. I can see 45 of you have already completed the quiz. We'll wait a minute or two for the two, three which are pending, and then we'll move ahead. Fine. Now almost everybody has completed the quiz part. Right, please keep on referring to the website that link that has been there in the syllabus, the one which I've also shared, especially for this unit, because it's a case study based. If you can see, there's a little difference in the way we are working for this unit, especially as compared to the last three units that we have done, because this unit is quite different, more practical in nature, how things have worked. So please keep on referring to those case studies over there. Right. I'll be taking the attendance now. So enrollment number 2. Yes, the mid-sem exam syllabus is unit 1 only. There is no change in the syllabus. Do not worry about that part. Because it is just one unit. Remember, because it is just one unit, it would be more in detail. So kindly go through the PPTs. And if you still have queries, please ask. So now let's take the attendance. Enrollment number 2. Okay, 5, 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, 17, 19, 24, 26, 25, 26, 29, 31, 34, 35. Aditya is present. 38, 44, 46, 47, 49, 50, 51, 53, 54, 56, 58, 55, 57, 68, 69, 72, 73, 82, 85, 89, 91, 96, 100, 101, 102, 103, 106, 108, 117, 118, 119, 120, 121, 125, 126, 131, 134, 144. I'll call out the absent numbers one. Yeah, I got it, Mahek. I've marked you present. I could see you answering. So, right. So, I'll call out the absent numbers, and if you have missed it, you can tell me right away. Right. So, absent numbers are 31. 31 is present. Okay. 35, 54, 73, 108, 134. These are the absent numbers for today. So we end it here on this note. If you still have any doubts for mid semester, remember the syllabus remains the same, but because it is just unit 1, it will be more detailed. Kindly look into the PowerPoint, look at the reference material which has been given to you. Yes, Aditi, I have marked you present. So even if you still have doubts, kindly get back to me and we may clarify whatever doubts you have. Fine. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.